Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. I, of course, am here to chat with you about what's going on in the daily mortgage market. So we'll call this your daily mortgage market update. Remember, you can join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. I broadcast on Facebook and on YouTube each and every weekday morning. If you're here live, say good morning. If you're watching on the replay, don't forget, go ahead and give me hashtag replay in the comments. Helps me figure out how much of those vanity metrics are actually true and how many people actually watch. So if you do watch, just give me hashtag replay. It's all I ask from you. Whether you're here live or on the replay, don't forget, smash that like button. If you're on Facebook, give us a thumbs up. Maybe tag an originator friend. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and give it the thumbs up. Leave a comment or two and subscribe. Also, your comments helps the engagement with the algorithm, and it's what keeps me going. It's why I do this. So make sure that you comment, even if you're just watching. If you'd like a reminder that I'm going live each day, you can go ahead and get a reminder straight to your phone. And we don't use your text message or your text number for nefarious purposes. We just go ahead and send you a quick reminder that we are going live each day. You can sign up at hmmr.io/reminder, and or you could use this cool QR code over here. And even if you are on your phone, take a screenshot, go to your photos, that QR code will work, and you could sign up for a text reminder. So that way you don't miss any of the show. Also, don't forget that although y'all know me for all of the mortgage rate stuff, my focus is to take my 25-ish years experience in the mortgage industry and to help get you more business, especially from Google, AI search, and social media. Check out our products, Originator Success at originatorssuccess.com. Check out Grab and Go Social at grabandgosocial.com, and Rate Sensei, which I got to get ratesensei.com going. It doesn't work yet. So, but I will. I'll get that going. So anyway, all right. So let's see who's here this morning, and we will go from there. Today, what will we be talking about, by the way? Today, we are going to talk about the 165 billion in tariffs and who paid them. Who's paying that money, and where does that money go? As my friend, who asked that? That was Randy Teagle. As my friend Randy Teagle asked. Also, could rates go up again at the end of the year? Right. So I want to talk about that. I think it's important we kind of take a look at what's going on right now. And two more Fed rate cuts. Are they really something to bank on? Got some Fed speakers out there, a lot of Fed members out there talking this week, and we'll talk about what they're saying and how that could affect mortgage rates. So that's what we're going to be going on this morning. Let's go ahead and say hi to the live folks. All of my friends here. First one I see on is Holly Johnson. Good morning, Holly. Great to have you here. Randy Teagle, giddy up, sir. Thank you for joining me. Michael Love, Megan Bissell. Great to have you here. Amy Blauser. Mallory Fotiadis, good morning. Monica Dinkins, Jared Vincent. Let's roll, baby. Let's roll, Jared. Matt Rasner, good morning. Mike Morano, good morning, sir. Thanks for your email. I would, I do subscribe to the Wall Street Journal, by the way. So if you send me a link to an article, I can always read them. Rob Smith, good morning. Almir Krivdik, good morning. Robert Bashir, it's great to see you. Deb Dickinson, good morning. Angela Walters, thanks for joining. Bill Stevens, good to see you, my man. I just said AI search. Yes, dude, AI search. That's not, you know what? We're doing a terrible job of talking about that with Originator Success, but AI search is a big, I don't like AI that much yet. I'm getting into it, getting better with it, but it doesn't mean that I'm not aware of what the world is doing and what consumer behavior is. So we've been focused on AI search. Those new websites that came out, Ron Siegel has one of our new websites. Those websites are optimized for AI search, and we could do a lot with that. So anyway, I don't want to get too far down that one. Good morning, Brian Paddleford. Great to see you as well. All right, let's go ahead and let's quick recap bring you up to speed on where things are at. So, first things first, quick recap of what happened yesterday. Here we are. So, let me zoom in on this so you guys could see it. And hopefully, let me bring it up on the screen because I know that sometimes you're not seeing the whole thing. So, let me know in the comments if you guys could see this whole thing because I'm on the little computer, so I don't get to see it that well. But if we take a look here, yesterday morning, pricing came out right about here. So you can kind of get an idea where we were, right? Pricing came out right about here. And you could see that we ended the day way down here. That, of course, is down. And that is not good. When you're looking at mortgage bond pricing, we would like to see it go up, not down. When we see the mortgage pricing go down, that gives our little guy a frown. We can even give him a bigger frown because that was kind of ugly. So yesterday there was quite a few reprices worse. Yep, I'll go back to that. So there were quite a few. There were less reprices worse than I anticipated, though. When you lose ground like this, but there were definitely some. And then this morning you can take a look and see yesterday we ended the day here. This morning we started out up here. So overnight we did pick up a little bit of that loss, but still down on the day. And if you look at where we are right now, mortgage-backed securities were here after starting out yesterday being about here. So you're still down on the day. So you're going to see worse pricing this morning is the bottom line. When you're down like this, you're going to see worse pricing. 10-year treasury yield, though, surprise, surprise, that actually, it really hasn't changed. 4.13 is where that sits. And you could see it right here on the chart. It's very much leveling out. So you could see that we're kind of capped out right here. Hopefully it continues to stay that way. So let me go ahead and hit some of this. So rate sheets today going to be a bit worse than yesterday. If we take a look at where that left us, yesterday you could see that rate sheets were stagnant from Friday, right? So we were a little bit better than here, and that's probably where you're going to see rate sheets this morning. They'll be just a couple ticks higher. Yesterday, Friday, kind of stagnant. They'll be a little bit worse. It's just death by 1,000 cuts right now. It's not a huge difference. And reprice risk on the day is moderate. It's likely that bonds are going to continue this trend. If you take a look here at the Japanese candlestick chart, I'm right here. By the way, I know that some of you follow multiple services besides me. Right now, if you look at mortgage or the MBS Live, they're following the 5.0 coupon. He's got that little star next to that one, which means probably that it's got a little bit higher trading volume. That's the one that he feels is the one that's most relevant. I don't think that it really bears switching to that coupon. I'm still watching the 5.5 for continuity. Like right now, we're up 7 basis points on the 5, and we're up 6 basis points on the 5.5. I mean, it's really not much of a difference at all. But this is the 5.5 here. And again, for continuity, even though you'd see a similar shape, you're seeing remember, if we want to look at fancy patterns here, this is what we call the seahorse pattern, because you can see its tail right here, and then it has a nice body, right? Like this. And you could see, look at that. And again, I'm making all this up, by the way, just so you guys know, but it really does, doesn't it? It looks just like a seahorse to me. And there's its head, and here's its snout. Look at that. It looks just like a seahorse. And I mean, how would you argue with that? In fact, unfortunately, I got to undraw that so that we can look at seahorse image, right? I mean, how does that not look at that? Is that not a spitting image of this guy right here? That's what we have. We have the seahorse image. So I'm sure that's got to be some cool. It looks to me, come on, y'all. I can't see your comments yet, so I'll go back and see them. But even if we do it yellow, I mean, like, look at this. It doesn't get more. Oh, that's terrible. Hold on, let me try it again here. It doesn't get no. Ah. All right, come on. Last time. I'm sorry. I'm just having fun. No, you son of a. I want this. This. There we go. Okay. There we go, like this, and then up to the head and the long nose. I mean, how does that not look like that same seahorse image that you got right here, right? I mean, come on, look at that. And look at that. It's the same thing. Spin image right here. Spin image as this guy right here. You know that it's the same thing. So, anyway, that's what we got going on. But taking a look here, it is drifting lower, is the bottom line, and I think it'll continue to drift lower. We'll see if the 25-day moving average, this blue line, gives us any kind of technical support. I don't think that it necessarily will, but it's possible that it will. So, but we will see. We will see. So, anyway, taking a look. Let me bounce back, and we'll get rid of this. So, oh, before I turn off the screen share, though, what do you guys think of my AI work? Does anyone know who the cute doggy is on Trump's lap? Please let me know in the comments because that's what we're going to talk about next. Who is this cute doggy? This is what I call a Miranese. It's a Miranese. Oh, you can't see it with that. Miranese. It's harder to do on this little computer than you think, folks. So don't laugh at me. This is a Miranese. Yes, this is our Miranese. This is the Fed lap dog that Trump has total control over. He's such a cute little lap dog, such a cute puppy. God love that little puppy. And yeah. And by the way, getting AI to make these images, it's a lot harder than you think it is. AI, I got Gemini to do it because Google doesn't like that stuff. But ChatGPT refused to make it, and it won't make it better. Like it won't. I wanted it to be like a blend, not just put the face on it. But that was all I could get AI to do for me this morning. But Michael says it looks like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Randy Teagle said Loch Ness, like a parade balloon version. And hold on, I'm just looking at your comments on stuff. So anyway, taking a look at all this stuff, kind of the gist there, what I have down at the bottom. So $165 billion in tariffs. I think that's the only thing that this administration is telling the truth on about the tariffs. In fact, let's go ahead and I'll screen share a little bit and I'll go over my source on this. So the tariffs are important because they're what are anticipated to be driving inflation, and from the different Fed members. So if we take a look here, all right. So this is the tariff payments, right? And there's no doubt a record haul in U.S. customs duties. 1 month left to go in the 2025 fiscal year. By the way, we are going to be talking about the government shutdown that's possible at the end of the month, but we won't talk about it today. With 1 month left to go in the 2025 fiscal year, they've totaled 165 billion so far, and I think that's probably trackable. All right. This Torsten Slok at Apollo Global Management, the current annualized rate at 350 billion. Take a look at the chart. You can see, look at where we were. I mean, for collection of tariffs. And again, this is not politics. Hold on a minute. Let me turn off my screen share for a minute. Okay. Let me make this clear to y'all. This is not politics. This is economics. So I don't need somebody to jump in and defend Trump to me. I don't think a lot of you do that on the live, but I definitely see a lot of it. It's like some people think the guy can do no wrong. And personally, I don't agree with the economic policy. Okay. The fiscal policy, fiscal versus monetary policy, by the way. Fiscal policy is spending and taxation. Monetary policy is what is set by the Fed. And it's important that we kind of get into this here. So let me share my screen with you again. Unfortunately, when I share my screen, I don't see the comments. So I'll come back on those. But taking a look here, 165 billion in here. Now, this is the part where I think things have gotten definitely out of whack, right? So first of all, it's important to note, as a practical matter, the U.S. importer pays the levy. The money, if you want to pick up your cargo container, you have to pay the cash. That's the bottom line. And I've talked before about how I have friends who bring in imports from China, and have had to pay this. And in fact, there was an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal last week about how the expense of these tariffs, like even things that you get from Timu or Sheen, is that how you pronounce it? Sheen? Um, consumers were used to, there was a loophole that there was no tariff if it was less than $800. So you could buy these cheap clothings and have them shipped directly from China, and they were dirt cheap. Well, now consumers are getting the clothing, and in order to get to take your package, you have to pay the tariff. So they're ordering, $70 worth of clothes, and then they turn around and get a $20 or a $30 bill, because you're not only paying the tariff, you're paying the administrative fee for the collection of the tariff, which is on top of the tariff. Okay, which makes these things more expensive. And when things get more expensive, you know what we call that? That's called inflation. Now, I remember Ron, he talked about how, other countries will source things in other places. But Ron, it's not happening at a large enough scale to avoid this. Inflation. Oh boy. Okay, well, let's get rid of that. So, inflation, right? So, this is an important thing. Now, exactly who's absorbing the cost is another matter. Trump and his aides frame things as foreign nations picking up much of the tab. And that's a bull-faced lie. So the president told reporters China was paying a lot in tariffs. I mean, that's, how could you argue with that? They're paying a lot in tariffs. Now, Scott Bessent, and I don't think Scott Bessent is a lapdog like this Yoko right here. Okay. But he does know how to placate Trump, and he plays the game. All right. So not Moran, but Bessent. He said last week on CNBC, many of the exporters are eating the tariffs in terms they're lowering prices by as much or more than tariffs, and especially the or more. You don't have companies that are like, oh yeah, we'll just drop our prices, no problem. In fact, we're not just going to drop them and match what you're losing on the tariffs. We're going to drop them more. I mean, like that right there. I almost think that he puts that in there just so that everybody can tell that he's lying. I really do. I think it's like if you're in trouble, blink twice. That's what I think this comment really says to me, is that Bessent knows that this is nonsense. Now, the data doesn't really back it up either. U.S. imports, which measure goods before they're tariffed, flat over 12 months in August, not down. Not down. Overall, import price inflation has been slightly below the pre-Trump tariff trend, according to analysis. So this import price inflation has been slightly below the pre-Trump trend. That also kind of is confusing on that, right? So consumers are at least picking up some of the tab. And I've shown this before. We're absolutely starting to. And this is a tax on companies that eventually companies will look to pass along to the consumer. That's why there is a concern, like with Powell. Goods inflation over the past year is 1.2%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a big change. Also cautioned price pressures could expect to continue to build into 2026. Now, we're going to wrap up in a little bit soon, but this kind of brings us to the next thing, which is the different Fed members not thinking that we are on here. So, of course, Fed Moran, he is the lapdog. Ruff, 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 good doggy. So he says, yes, we need to cut rates. He argued the neutral rate of interest been pushed lower by tariffs, which is stupid, immigration restrictions, and tax policy, and that interest rates should be much lower to prevent damaging the economy. By the way, any damage to the economy? So this is, and I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. So this is kind of where things get funny to me, because you've got a situation where Trump is got different ego things that are crashing into each other. Okay. So, first of all, Trump is going to say that the labor market is the best labor market and, a wonderful labor market. But yet, in order to facilitate seeing the Fed cut rates, it needs to be a weak labor market. So how can he say it's a great labor market if it's a weak labor market, and that way the Fed can cut rates? He's going to say the economy is doing well. It's the best economy. Look at all this money that they've collected. Well, if the economy is doing well, then there's no need to cut the Fed funds rate. All right. So because the Fed funds rate, you're looking for what's called a neutral rate. A neutral rate with the Fed funds rate is where it's not stimulating or slowing down the economy, and you're maximizing labor. You want to keep inflation at or around 2% with the PCE, which comes out on Friday. By the way, just to be clear, when that PCE data comes out this Friday, not going to see a lot of reaction to it. And that brings us kind of to the other thing that we're talking about, right? So are there 2 more Fed rate cuts that have been anticipated? I'll share the screen again so I can show you guys a couple of things. So Bostic, 2 Fed members, Bostic and, hold on, they're the other side here. All right, so you got Fed Bostic says little reason to cut rates further, and Fed Musalem. But now neither one of these guys are voting Fed members this year. Okay, Musalem is St. Louis Fed president. Bostic is Atlanta Fed president. If we take a look at who's voting in 2025, the voting members are Boston, Chicago. Oh, I'm sorry. 2025 Musalem is a voting member. So my bad. I'm glad I caught that because I was wrong about that. So Musalem is a voting member, but Bostic is not. However, in 2026, neither one will be voting because then you've got Hammack, Kashkari, Logan, and whoever takes over for Patrick Harker. So this is what we've got going into 2026. But as far as for 2025 and looking at these Fed rate cuts, expectations, I mean, this is a rate increase actually at this point. That would have been leaving rates the same and not doing a Fed rate cut at all, 4.25 to 4.5, which is where we were before this Fed rate cut in September. That's what that one was. Then you have, here are the people that say one cut, one and done. And that's where we're at right now. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Fed members that say, okay, we did a cut in September. That's it. There's 2 that think maybe we need one more. We could see those bump up if we don't get some help from the next labor market data that comes out October 5th. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that believe we need to see 2 more cuts. So there's 9 members that think, okay, we need to see 2 more cuts, but there's 6 that think we're done. And there's almost nobody in the middle. There's only 2 that believe that we would need 1 more cut. So there's 6 that say, okay, we're done. There's 2 that say we need 1 more cut, and there's 9 that say we need 2 more cuts. And then this is Moran down here, who is, he's just, he's a lapdog. So we kind of got that figured out, and that's kind of funny. So that's what we're looking at right now on this. And so basically the thing we have to kind of stick with this here is, what is the expectation of where things go from here? And what happens if markets don't think we're going to have those 2 Fed rate cuts? Right now, the next month's October Fed rate cut is almost a given. If the labor market data were to come in stronger than expected, that could shake that up. December is about a 75% expectation for a Fed rate cut right now. So if we start to see, as we go into October's meeting, which is the end of October, and we go into the December meeting, if markets don't think we're going to see those rate cuts or question what's going to happen as we go into 2026, we're in a position to see mortgage rates move higher again, back into those higher 6s. That's kind of our range that we're at. Now, Logan Mohtashami has been very clear that he doesn't think mortgage rates are going to go much lower below 6 because the 10-year is in the right place based on the economic conditions, and that you're not going to see it break below 4%. We didn't after the Fed meeting. So it flirted with 3.99 immediately after the meeting, but then it went back up again. So that's why, I mean, these are the rates that we're right now. These are probably the better rates. I'll throw it down at the bottom. My outlook, I'd be locking anything closing in the next 15 days and for sure. And I've been saying that for the last couple of, for the last few days. Anything 15 to 30 days, I would also consider locking. You have to decide if you want to float that into the October 5th labor market meeting. And then how much improvement could we see? We'd have to see a really weak labor market reading for that. So Randy said, without tariffs, do we have inflation now? That's a what if kind of scenario, inflation had been moving lower before the tariffs. So arguably, we would be at the Fed's 2% rate. Because remember, we're only, what was the last CPI reading? The last PCE. Let's see, PCE inflation reading. The last PCE inflation reading was for the July report, which would have come out in August. So it was 0.3 month over month and 2.9 year over year. And for core, and overall was 2.6. So we probably be close to where the Fed would want to be, but we probably still be a little bit higher. But again, that's just speculation. That's really, there's no way to know that answer to that one. So, all right, my friends. Well, anyway, that's why I got going on. That's why I'd be locking. There's very little chance that we're going to see rates go down anytime soon. The next big event that would help that happen will be the labor market data on October 5th. And that's a couple weeks from now. It's a long time to flow. I think we're going to continue to see death by 1,000 cuts. Rates will creep higher a little bit at a time. I think if we're looking at Mortgage News Daily as a reference point, right now we're around 6.37. We could work our way back up to that 6.47, 6.5 area. We could see rates move up an eighth between now and that labor market data. And then they would probably drop back down again if we get some weak data. I mean, that's kind of what we've got in front of us. There's not much of a reason to expect them to improve from here, which is why I'd be locking. Now, anything longer term, there's less of a concern and it's a lot more expensive to lock. But if somebody wanted to lock, these are good rates. I wouldn't be afraid to lock them. And that's kind of where I'm at. So that's my take. I hope you guys like everything. And I hope today was good for you. Let me know in the comments. Always appreciate your kudos. Never get tired of it. I always have imposter syndrome, my friends. I don't know why you want me to get on and talk about this stuff. I feel like I talk about the same kinds of things every day, but if you show up, so will I. And I appreciate you being here. So thank you so much. Hope you all have a fantastic day. We will talk tomorrow. Bye-bye.